Formula One is rapidly becoming one of the most popular sports across the globe, and all these new fans are expecting action-packed and thrilling races. But for some, the races aren't enough as they want to see more action. This has resulted in more proposed changes to the rules and weekend format as we know it. And to embrace the new fans and make the sport more exciting, Formula One are going to experiment with an entirely new format that centres on a sprint race. This might happen for the first time in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. But these aren't the only changes that the big bosses have in store for us. Sit back and relax as we dive in. Sprint races have been one of the most significant new additions to the structure of racing weekends in recent years. The new races first appeared in Formula One in 2021, replacing conventional qualifying. The goal was to make qualifying more interesting, but the first year showed that it had failed. Drivers avoided dueling on track to prevent being wrecked. To avoid this, a new scoring system for the sprint race was established in 2022 to encourage drivers to engage in on-track battles. Hence, another step would now be taken to improve sprint events. Sprint races would be distinct from the main race under this new configuration. Saturday would therefore be devoted fully to the sprint race, with qualifying in the morning and the sprint race in the afternoon. The outcome of the sprint race, though, will no longer impact the starting grid for Sunday's event. Instead, a typical qualifying session will take place on Friday afternoon to set the starting grid. Drivers would have more freedom to battle in the sprint if it did not interfere with the race on Sunday. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix would be the first weekend to use this format, given it is the first sprint event of the season. Gunther Steiner, the head of the Haas team, revealed in a news conference that his argument is being studied. "We're currently talking about adding a second qualifying session to the sprint race," Steiner acknowledged. "But we don't yet know how and when," Red Bull Racing team head Christian Horner said. The paddock seems to be divided about the concept for now, but there is one person that seems to be open for a change. Helmut Marko, a Red Bull consultant, tells Service TV that he and the team are open to this potential development. "We've even set a second qualifying as a requirement last year," reports the Austrian. "With 2 qualifying sessions, you can take more risk in the sprint, and then the race becomes more exciting. Saturday's practice was useless anyway, but if that now becomes a qualifying session, Saturday will be a lot better. And then on Sunday, you start with the results of the real qualifying, so it gets better across the board." What do you think? Will this be a successful test? Would it be a good improvement to the sprint format to introduce 2 qualifying sessions? Let us know in the comments down below. But these aren't the only changes F1 is eyeing, as there is another concept coming which reduces track time even more, and seems to be one of the most radical ideas in recent years. Stefano Domenicali, the CEO of Formula One, said during last weekend's MotoGP that he's not a fan of free practice sessions in Formula One. He's even considering scrapping the practice sessions. Domenicali has previously offered significant thoughts about free practice sessions. He said last year that free practice sessions had no purpose, and hence deliver no amusement. As a result, the Italian devised the notion of awarding points during free practice sessions. The concept was already controversial, but his latest declaration is much more radical. The head of Formula One waved the checkered flag at the first MotoGP race of the season this past weekend. Afterwards, he made it clear what he thinks of the free practice sessions. According to Domenicali, the practices are not spectacular enough, the Portuguese channel Sport TV heard. "I'm in favour of cancelling the practice sessions that are of great benefit to the engineers, but which the public does not like. F1 is continually seeking for ways to make the sport more appealing under Domenicali's supervision. Sprint races have been implemented under his reign, a new qualifying structure was trialled, and weekends with 2 qualifying sessions will be tried again in 2023, as said earlier in the video." Domenicali's comments has resulted in some uproar across the paddock in the days after his initial comments. Thus, Stefano Domenicali has provided more clarification to Sky Sports on his comments about eliminating practice sessions. The Formula One chairman says he doesn't want to get rid of practice sessions entirely, but he also doesn't want to become caught in old habits. Domenicali recently sparked outrage among fans and several drivers when he suggested that Formula One could do without practice sessions because it would be incredibly dull for the fans. Drivers such as George Russell and Pierre Gasly have already approached Domenicali, suggesting that perhaps 1 or 2 fewer sessions could be done if it meant more testing time for the other series. Domenicali now clarifies his remarks to Sky in further detail. "When you talk about an ant, it becomes an elephant," the Formula One boss laughed. "There needs to be time to practice. Formula One has no free practice outside of the Grand Prix, and people come to see the performance. The more chance you give to the teams and drivers to see who they are, the better it is for the show. On the other hand, we can't forget about the rookies. There needs to be a balance. Altogether, we're thinking and working out what is the best plan. F1 is very popular at the moment, Domenicali continued. We should not be afraid and we should be assertive in trying new formats. Not because we don't respect tradition, but because it would be wrong not to try anything new. You have old fans like me who have a certain idea of what a weekend should look like, and you have a new generation asking for something new. The sport continues to evolve and change. It is a mistake not to recognise that. It's important to recognise what the fans want. We have to consider that we're at the start of an incredible period where F1 is strong, Domenicali continued. It's not because we don't respect the tradition, but it would be wrong not to think about it. We don't have to be shy. There are people like me, old fans that have certain ideas of the formula for the weekend, but also the new generation are more aggressive in asking for something different. The sport is evolving. If we don't realise that, it's a mistake. That's why we have to be on the front foot to understand what the fans want. Would this be a good change for Formula 1? Are the drivers willing to change up the schedule? Let's not forget, for the drivers, the weekend starts on Thursday, and with back-to-back races, their calendars are pretty cramped. Is it good to get rid of Friday practice, so all Thursday driver duties can be held on Friday? So while Stefano Domenicali managed to steal the show last weekend, everyone wanted to know what the drivers think about the proposed changes. The remarks from the Formula 1 CEO, in which he claimed that he was opposed to free practice sessions, were the middle point of this all. Several drivers in Melbourne, where the regular 3 practice sessions are being conducted this weekend, were asked what they thought about removing practice sessions. If it was up to Mercedes' George Russell, free practice sessions will not be stopped completely. I think, obviously, the more practice you do, the more up to speed you'll be, the more comfortable you'll be with the car. I don't think it's right that Formula 1 has 3 times the amount of practice that you have in the F3 and F2 category. They should be the ones getting more practice. Also because they're doing less races, but don't get to test that often. No practices would be too little. I wasn't in favour of the sprint races initially. I really enjoy the sprint races, and having action on a Friday I think is vital for all of us, and also for the entertainment factor, Russell said. Pierre Gasly of Alpine echoed Russell's words. Definitely, 3 is not needed as a driving point of view. It's always nice. You can work on fine details on the car and try to nail that car balance for the weekend. Generally speaking, I think 1, 2 maximum is more than enough for us. I kind of agree. In sprint races, we've had different feedbacks. I think there's a lot of discussions on what to explore and how to increase the entertainment and racing on that one. I think it's good to always question what we're doing and looking at how we can improve the format and the whole format of the weekend in general. Nick De Vries of AlphaTauri and Logan Sargent of Williams agreed with their colleagues. The number of free practice sessions may well be reduced. Nico Hülkenberg, driving for Haas, is in the minority. Thinking back to what George said about Junior Series, I quite enjoyed it at the time. Having only 30 minutes in F2 and then get thrown into quali? I think it's a matter of personal preference and opinion. We could discuss that for a long time probably. Some drivers like it and some don't, but this will always be the case. The most important question is what you as a fan would like to see. Would you like to see Formula 1 getting rid of all Friday driving? Or would you like to see more sprint races with the new qualification format? Let us know in the comments down below which format you would like to see. Also, let us know if you'd like to see a completely different weekend format. We'd love to see your thoughts on the matter. As for us, we'd like to see as much racing as possible, and preferably with points on the line. Thanks for watching today's video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Enjoy this weekend's Grand Prix, leave some predictions in the comments down below, and we'll see you in the next video.